Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is Cosmic Gateway. I am your host, Alisha Brashe, and I'm very excited to give a warm welcome to my guest here, Candi, Candi Wishman. She's a soul sister of mine. She's great at astrology, human design, energy work, divine counterparts. And as I mentioned in my energy update, I clocked a date as I do intuitively, which was the 11th of January, being sort of the main sort of entry point into the energies of 2025. And so going back a few weeks ago, it got me in, and I sort of Googled 11th of January, and I realized that we're at this nodal shift, and I've gone down the rabbit hole. I've spoken to some astrology friends of mine, and I thought it'd be great to bring you on to have a chat because I know you're a wealth of information, and you've got so much to share around this.
Yeah.
And, you know, some people really love the astrology aspect, some people don't, but I do think that there is an emphasis to working with intuitive and energy cycles and looking at the astrological placements that we can get the best out of it. And sometimes it's just a good confirmation because as I've been feeling into the energies of 2025 and what that brings to me, when I looked at the nodal shifts, it completely backed it up. So I thought we'd do a bit of a fun video, break some stuff down. But Candi, thank you. Welcome.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited about this because it is a big shift. And I'm just going to preface before we get into it, I am not a classically trained astrologist. I read the charts very differently through an intuitive sense. So some of the information that I share is just whatever messages need to come through for these placements and understanding how they're going to affect people and what they can do about it if they want to do something about it. But it really is probably more affirming, especially for those people who are starting to really trust their senses and lean into their intuition and all those kinds of things.
Mm,
So before we get into the nodal shift, I just want to talk a little bit about the Aries North Node and Libra South Node. Um, Aries of the self, Libra of partnership, right? We've got we had a time where we could define who we truly are and prioritize our needs in regard to relationships. And there was a lot of other stuff with that, but I'm going to focus a little bit more on the relationship element. A lot of the karmic contracts are closed out with this nodal change because it was their time to close out duty and obligation. It really ties in a lot with that Pluto and Capricorn and then Pluto going into Aquarius, but that's another conversation for another time. What it did though is it gave us the courage and maybe a little bit of the aggression that Aries provides to really stand for what we truly needed for ourselves, where we normally wouldn't. Libra energy wants you to be diplomatic. It wants you to be fair, even compromise yourself and your own needs. We came out of that. The beautiful thing about that is this nodal shift is taking us to a place of um, now that our needs are being met, we have more to go around to others. So it's sort of coming full circle in relationships, but the relationships are far more healthy and compassion based.
that's beautiful. So
Okay.
just to give a little backtrack for those who
Yeah.
aren't aware of the nodes, I think we moved into the last, they change every 18 months, if that.
Yes.
And we've been in this phase since July 17th,
Yeah.
2023.
3.
Yeah, I had to think about that.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 So
Yes. Yeah.
that's the
We've been
energy
in it
that's
for,
kind of been moving through
yeah.
collectively.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, like I said, like if you look up information, there's different perspectives about everything, but this is what I'm guided to share. And then I'm going to talk about I'm going to kind of mix the two energies. So I'm going to take you through each of the houses. I'm going to share my screen a little bit to show you what I'm talking about if people want to look up their own natal chart and apply it to themselves. I'm also going to talk about divine counterparts and divine connections and how this is really a pivotal time for the collective in so many ways because divine connections and uh, counterparts are soul-based, and this is very much a connection of the soul, unconditional love, all of these things. And I'm not going to get too ahead of myself, but I tend to do that sometimes. So bear with me. Okay, let's talk about the North Node in Pisces. Now, um, it's going to be this nodal shift. This is the lunar nodes. They move backwards through our chart. I'm going to show you this, you guys, this in a second, but um, it's going to be from January 11th, 2025, I believe, until I want to say July of 2026. For whatever reason, and sometimes this happens, I will Google the transit dates and it will not give them to me. I don't know if I've got spirit, I've got a ghost in my machine. I don't know. I'm just gonna let it roll out. There's probably a reason for that, but the fact is we're here for 18 months, okay? That you can just lean into whatever date that feels like for you. And um understanding Pisces as an element, it's very deep, it's very soul driven, and people with strong Pisces placements are here to help break down the barriers to connection with others and love and the soul. Okay. So I love that our trajectory is very much based on those elements. So we have compassion, soul expansion, and hope, right? We're being reinfused with hope again, loving life again. That's what I feel is coming. Working more fluidly, less effort in labor, working when it feels right. I just have point forms and then I'll get into stuff, but really feeling the calling of your soul for people. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's spiritual. It may not be spiritual at first. Your soul is going to bring you back onto your divine path during this time. A deeper experience of love, connecting with the energies and environments around you in a more sensitive way. Okay. That and really needing a space that's conducive to expansion. And I'm going to talk about the South Node in Virgo because it's a little bit of a touchy subject because it can be a little bit intense, but I feel that the softness of Pisces is going to help us with all of that. Okay. If you're not in the right environment or with the right people, you're going to feel restricted in your expansion and it's going to be palpable. But it's going to be your indicator that, hey, maybe this isn't where I'm supposed to be. Maybe I need to seek out something greater for myself. Rose-colored glasses. I know it's so funny because when we see like the opposite ends, right? We know Pisces is opposite to Virgo. We have this tension of belief systems. I could see a Virgo placement being like, rose-colored glasses, you need to watch out for those. You shouldn't have those. But during this time, it's going to take you to an elevated space. It's going to allow you, it's going to give you permission to believe that something's possible.
Mm.
So be a little bit dreamy. Be a little bit detached from reality, just a little. It's going to help you evolve, okay? Kinder, caring community and a very grounded soul experience. Okay. Now with a Virgo South Node, I'm a Virgo rising, so I feel like I have permission to say these things about Virgo. There's some of the things that I struggle with, but Virgo in its utilization is a beautiful energy for organizing, for community, for nurturing. However, because of fear and um, wounding and programming and conditioning, it's become more of like the brood mother, the one that's like strict, right? The one, so look, the beauty of sometimes energies being in the South Node is gives us an opportunity to reflect on ways in which we're restrictive with ourselves, where we're holding ourselves back or being critical in some way so that we can shift that and be more nurturing. Okay. Being mindful of your inner narrative or intrusive thoughts, because that's 100% going to be Virgo energy. if you have any beliefs stuck in critical growth, and here's what's interesting because I picked up this energy a couple weeks ago. I don't know why my camera's doing that. It's gonna do that. I apologize. It's gonna be like shining like the Holy Spirit and then like really dark. I don't know what's going on. So
All right, mine does it too. I've never seen
okay,
anyone else's do it, so I'm like, I'm not alone. Okay, it's
okay,
spotlighting you now. This is important.
yes. Ah, okay. Um, so here's I go anyway, I picked this up. You ever see like those self-help coaches that are all about being critical?
Mhm. Oh yeah,
Because
yeah, yeah.
right, we were taught to be so that's the only way you could grow is if you're critical of yourself. That's gonna feel sour now. It's gonna feel like it's a detriment to your growth, which is what we kind of need because we need growth through love and compassion and acceptance. And it's not to say that we won't analyze things or we won't want to like improve things. How we go about improving is going to change. We're going to improve through love that we have for ourselves and love that we have for others more so than thinking we need to be perfect.
Mhm.
And that's the point of evolution, okay? Uncovering the deep, I sometimes can't read my own writing, the deep nuances of Virgo's desire to nurture um, and serve everyone, okay? Virgo has an innate need to serve others and serve the world in a beautiful way. So we can tap into a little bit of that energy in order to fully integrate some of these critical things that we carry within ourselves.
Mhm.
I feel like you're probably a little bit like me, Alisha, where you rebel against that in some way. Okay. Anyway, how that shows up is going to be different for everyone, but it's just to be mindful of that. Is this critical thought bringing me closer to my own soul, love, compassion? If it's not, maybe it's time to unsubscribe and create new thoughts.
I love that.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so for this is for the overview, but for divine connections, okay? And then I'll get into the housing system because I found when I was channeling, it was so fascinating to see how it's broken down and the specific things that people are going to be dealing with. And you can stop me at any time, Alisha, if you have any questions or if a thought comes in and we can have a conversation. I'll just keep going. I'm like a little Energizer bunny. So
Well, I just want to interject just a little bit before you continue, because I guess this is when I listen to reports around this, like I do think about my own life, my own rite of passage and journey. And the last time we had this Pisces in the North Node was around, I think, 2006, 2007, if I'm not mistaken. And so I sort of cast my mind back to what was happening in my life then. What were some of the themes? What was some of the key points that I remember that may be significant to this? And so anyway, 2 points that stand out for me looking at this big 18 and a half year cycle.
right.
One, I was invested in changing my career. I was I was
Mm,
studying counseling at the time, and I was going on my own journey because I was getting really serious about my life path, my counterpart journey that was speaking really loud to me through the etheric, through the dream state, through,
yeah.
and that was sort of the beginning point because I did a progression and I was shown my future, which
Mm.
which now I know that was very much a new earth vision that's yet to materialize. But hey, like it set the tone. And I feel like
It
when we
did.
got to the midway point of this, when we're in the opposite, so the North Node was in Virgo and the South Node was in Pisces, which was 2015. It was actually the 12th. I looked this up. I don't have the same gremlins in my phone, apparently, is what you do. It was the 12th of November 2015. That was the day I had my Kundalini awakening, and I felt like I was starting
Mm,
to actualize some of what I had seen and laid down the foundation. So I feel like we're kind of in a bit more of a new trajectory, but it's fit. And the theme for 2025 kept coming to me. It's expansion. It's just expansion,
yeah,
expand. Yeah. So
100%.
I think
Yeah,
that's where we can look at different not placements, but transits and get a flavor for how it personalized for ourselves. And no,
yeah,
it's not going to be the same, but it might give you a little. key
For
indicator.
sure, because it's going to give you insight as to what purpose it had in your life before. And it really did point you in the right trajectory. It really did take you in the right trajectory for where you are now. I love that it's kind of come full circle,
Yeah. And now
right?
I keep getting this like it's time to dream a new dream. Not maybe not a new dream,
Yes.
but an
Yes. Oh,
expansion. Yeah.
yes.
An expansion of the
Yeah.
dream. Like we're really kind of layering up
Yes.
that. And even when I feel into that energy I have had over the probably the last 2 years, I've had tastes of that through experience and dreams. And I can feel what's in the pipeline and that's really cool. But now just kind of laying or beginning that or laying down the foundation for that.
Yes. And I love that you brought that up because I'm going to go a little bit into the whole dimensional reality stuff just a little bit because back in 2007, 2008, you would have still been pretty tethered into the old world. So having a dream like this, but having no place for your mind to understand how it would evolve would be complete, how you would go about it would be completely different than now, where you are not really tethered into the old world at all, but expansive in how you could go about it or how it could actually evolve in your life now. So the dream is going to be very different. It's going to be more expansive because you've been expanded throughout this process.
Mm. Yeah.
So I feel like that's very much in alignment. Okay. So for divine connections, romance overrides the need to analyze or be critical. Okay, so I'm going to go into this a little bit because as human beings and especially with Virgo in the South Node, okay, those little intrusive thoughts, well, how is that even possible? How I trying to map out how this could actually come to terms instead of just living into the romance of it and being open to romantic love without feeling foolish about it,
Mhm.
right? Being a fool for love and then living into that and finding out that there's nothing foolish about feeling into the frequency of love. Like, and I'm not somebody who's overly romantic. I am not somebody, I probably struggle a little bit like that. So I can honestly say, like, some of the clients that I have struggle to believe that the, thinking that this romantic love can only exist in the movies where everything is pretend and everything is created. Okay. But this is something different. And it's not to, how do I put this? It's not to say that that's a fantasy that people are trying to manifest. It's something people feel and know that they want to align
Mm. Mm.
with their partners, with their person, what have you, okay? More compassion for the journey, sort of a reflective compassion for the journey for all involved. Um, a desire to connect with the energy and live from there instead of what's happening in the 3D.
Mm. Mm.
So just a more fluid experience, detachment from needing proof or needing to be able to explain it to people and just honoring the love that's there. The desire to nurture and cultivate the core of love within the connection because it doesn't matter if you're with your person or not. That's a powerful source of energy to
Mm.
live from. Like I feel like I can't speak for you, but I feel like when I'm connected to that and I'm creating and like whatever I'm doing is amplified with
Yeah.
that
And
higher frequency. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, yeah. And it's frequency that we all hold that we can tap into and
Yeah.
access regardless of our circumstance situation. It's
Yes.
a powerful force. And I think the
Yes.
more we hold that, the more we're creating a
Yeah.
world and an experience and a reality based on that. So
See?
it's,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
I love.
You're correct.
Woo!
Um, we're gonna see a lot more divine feminines really living into their divine gifts with
Mm.
this energy. And the masculines, their intuition's gonna come online, even more so than it is. They're gonna live into that. Um, how the energy is more real than what's being displayed in real life. And I'm just going to tell you this little story. My friend Colleen had said to me one time, she said, your relationship with your divine masculine is more real than any relationship in his life. And I had to sit with that because, we get stuck on the 3D things, but nobody in his life is really being honest with themselves or authentic. So it's not really an authentic relationship, whereas the love of this connection and the energy of the connection is authentic. Anyway, so that's going to become more normal than abnormal. And the power to believe, to have hope, and have faith to live into our highest timeline. We're going to feel the constant need to focus on that than what has happened in the past. So the way that shows up is, well, it could never happen because it's never happened. That's an old energy. That's more of a Virgo South Node energy. The Pisces North Node energy is, I've never experienced that. It's time to experience it, and anything's possible. So I think that's really,
Yeah.
yeah.
I feel that too. I feel that I everything that you're describing is so validating because that's the intuitive feeling I've been feeling into as we've been approaching closer and closer and not even knowing, so it's very timely. It's very sort of in tune or in sync with the energetic patterns, I would say, that are sort of coming up
Yes.
that
Yes.
not,
And I do
but I'm
feel,
sure many are feeling into. Yeah.
yes, and I feel like that's kind of where astrology, human design, whatever is going, is to a place of affirming for people and what they're connected to energetically
Mm-mm.
versus maybe where it at once would tell people who they are, how it's kind of a more of an affirming tool now to be like, yes, what you sense is real. The
Mm.
stars said so.
And yeah, I guess I want to pick your brain a little bit on that because
Yeah.
years I've pondered on like as we're moving out of this reality into a new, whether you call it new earth, 5D, however you want to call it, the golden age, the golden timeline, where our trajectory is at, how relevant is astrology going to be, or how will that have to change and evolve because we're kind of, if we're less in linear time,
Yeah.
then yeah, how does
Yeah.
that apply? Because I can speak for myself is when I'm in a certain energy bandwidth that would be more connected to physicality and this reality maybe like more, let's say more 3D, if you will. Um, Astrology absolutely applies, and I can feel it, not all of it, but like
Yeah.
I pick and choose. I cherry pick, honestly. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I feel into
That's
that. Oh yeah.
that's what everybody should do. Everyone should just it's a buffet. Pick what you want to eat, pick what you want to digest. That's perfect. Okay, go ahead.
um but I know when I'm in very heightened expansive states of consciousness, it doesn't even fall on my radar. So
Hmm.
I don't know, curious to like, sorry to put you on the
I
spot,
feel
but
that. I do feel that because with traditional astrology, there's a lot of rules and regulations. There's a lot of like structures and rule and things to follow, which when you're in the 3D or the matrix or whatever you want to call it, whatever reality that is that has all those structures, it's going to make sense. But when you move on to like the fourth dimensional bridge or you move beyond that into the fifth dimensional reality, where it's more of an expansive, it's a little bit of that information that you learn from astrology, like the energies of a Virgo or the energies of a Pisces. But then you consider all of the sensing and feeling and things that you're picking up on that maybe don't correlate with traditional astrology, but will resonate because that's what people are experiencing. So it's sort of this alchemy, this
mm,
alchemical process as you expand.
mm,
I'm so all of those modalities, numerology, human design, astrology, all that stuff is going to also alchemize and become more expansive in their expression because we're dealing with multitude, like multitudes of pockets of energy and information that yeah, I don't know if I'm explaining it very well, but I feel like you understand what I'm saying. I do feel it's going to shift and change because we are shifting and changing. And how we perceive, integrate, and process information is very different when you're in a higher frequency than when you're not. And
Yeah.
there's, again, it's not a judgment of higher, lower, good or bad. It's just different.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I definitely agree. I think there's still some relevance with it, like everything that's going to go through this evolution and transformation. And um, yeah, it feels like more energetic trends and patterns rather than like, this is your profile, this is who you are. Like it, yeah. Um,
Like,
I don't know. I've always been a cherry picker when it comes to astrology.
I think that's how people should be, though. I think that's the perfect way to be, but maybe that's just because we both have Pisces and Mercury. I don't know. But we're here for the buffet. Um, let me put it this way. When I look at some posts that talk about, what it means to have your Mars in the 12th house, and I look at these things and I read them, I'm like, okay, that's what I was like as a child or a teenager. That's the world that they're talking about. Okay. But then
Yeah,
I'll read ones by like I think Alexa or Alex Miles. There's the Quattroverse or the Quattroverse. I don't know if I'm going to say that right. There are certain, I want to say, like evolutionary tr astrologists that kind of pick up on the energy and the planetary stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's what I'm experiencing now
mm.
in the world I'm in now. So there's a little bit of that, I think.
Yeah, there's already that push through. Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Yeah.
There's some people that I really relate to, and then obviously I don't go and read the classifiers and Pisces today.
For your
That's
horoscope.
yeah,
And some of the older stuff, they talk about the signs as if they haven't evolved. Like I'm an Aries sun, and if you read anything about an Aries sun, I don't relate to much of that at all. But as a kid and a teenager, 100%. I probably would have been right up my alley.
yeah, yeah. It's a good profiling fit and a good tool, third dimensional
Yeah.
wise. And then I've also looked at the signs too and made jokes about like how there's like the 3D or unevolved version of a Virgo
Yes.
or whatever sign it is, and then there's the archetypes of when it goes through the evolution and how it comes out the other side. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
very
Mhm.
yeah, very interesting, very curious because I think
Yeah.
but yeah, I think you've got to really pick and choose and just allow it to support your intuitive journey, I think is the
Exactly.
way.
Yes. It like I think I learned this like pretty early on in my like awakening journey where if something made me feel bad about myself or and not know like because if somebody said something that was true for me but I didn't want to hear it, I'm like, ah, crap. Yeah, okay. Like but if it wasn't resonant, like there's no need to take it on. Even the stuff I'm talking about here in this video with you, if there's people it doesn't resonate with them, don't take it. It's not gonna lift you up. We're really at a time where picking and choosing what's gonna lift you up and expand you is more important than having other people's truth. Like it's such a weird time, eh? Like how we there's the Canadian in me, eh? How we're like, oh, well, we don't want to miss out on any information or we don't want to get it wrong because we didn't take into consideration that point of view. But I think that
Mhm.
time is over. I think you get to have your point of view and run with it because
Mm,
that's your soul's calling you. So I
mm.
I think that's beautiful that you do that.
And I'm gonna let you continue because I do want to get into the houses and all that, and we're gonna break it down a little bit differently than what's sort of out there on the various different channels. We're gonna
Yeah.
like put the different placements through the transits and how that will impact in specifically around like the soul expansion and counterpart energies because that's
Yeah.
something that you and I both sort of focus on in our work.
Yeah.
Um, Damn it. It's just no, hang on. I'm pulling it back in. I'm pulling it back in. It was like, ah, yeah. So as these intuitive hits come in, I'm just gonna blurt it out. And I think
Perfect.
one thing that feels really strongly in the energetic patterns of this nodal change is a lot of people who are being plucked out of that matrix system and structure and switching. There's a transition of a switching, which I call from free will to divine will,
Yeah, yeah, yes,
where you
yes.
switch out of the human,
Hmm.
um, I remain free will, da da da, to like there's a higher aspect of me that is governing my life, my purpose, my
Yes.
mission. And then once you shift and alignment with that, I mean, you can get your ass hammered. Like sometimes it's not fun, like as you're making that transition, but it's
Yes.
so much more living from a, a state of purpose.
Yes.
Um, and I feel like as we go through this change, it's I'm literally seeing it as like people being ripped or plucked out of the old matrix grid system and flung into like a more higher trajectory of their soul's divine will, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I feel like we get many choice points where we can, you know, as I was shown when I was, actually, I was shown just after this transit, after I got the download and then the like, this is your future, now start working towards it. Um, 2018, I had this experience where I was like freaking out, like, oh, I'm gonna, fail. And I was taken by this beautiful, benevolent being and shown my life's blueprint as like this sacred geometry sort of structure, if you will. Like it was very,
Hmm.
and I was shown like you can lean off the path. You can like go down like a detour. You can, go, but eventually you're always going to come back. So there's the short way, there's the long way, but eventually you always.
I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that because while I was preparing for this video, it came through to remind people that you can't mess it up. You can't slip off your path. Your path, you will always find your way back to your path. But more to that, being more conscious to be like staying on your path instead of getting distracted. We're no longer getting distracted by the things that we think we're supposed to do. I love that.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
feel like we're getting to this culmination point, and especially in divine partnership connection, because I feel like they're such a crucial point of this ascension collectively. But it feels like those that have strayed or gone on the detour, there's no more choice points left. And that's what I was talking about. But kind of, I feel like
Yeah.
when like that road had ended for me in 2015. I feel like I'd had so many different opportunities where I had deviated, gone down this road, gone down that road. It
Right.
was all part of the learning experience, and I don't, regret any of it. I think it
Right.
reinforced, but I knew, like I felt it deep within my soul at that point. There was no turning back. Like
Yeah.
there was no more, oh, I'll just
Yeah.
go and explore another career. And
Yeah.
it was like, okay, you're at the, and that's kind of where I feel like a lot of people are
Yes.
pushed into. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I felt that in varying ways on my journey, but the most recent was like this past December where I had an opportunity to like do something else and it was nice and it was okay, but it wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't what I was being guided to do.
Mm.
And even just working, so for the people that are going to struggle with this a little bit, working through the guilt of not taking up an opportunity because the soul knows what the soul knows is okay. Anyways, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
I do believe that. And I do believe that there's such an important point to divine counterparts coming together for all kinds of reasons, not just for union and for kids, for all kinds of reasons. Um, and I feel like this energy is preparing us for that from an energetic soul standpoint.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I'm just gonna share a screen a little bit for those people who want to look up their own chart so they can know what they're looking for to see what houses and stuff are going to apply to them. Is that all right?
Sure.
We get
Yeah.
to get into that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you got permission? I'm sure you
Yes,
have.
I do, I think. Yes, I
Oh,
do.
good. Excellent.
Okay. So I I pulled this chart just for the sake of it. This is whole sign, so everything's perfect. Okay. You're gonna wanna, if you're looking up your own chart, you're gonna wanna look at where the North Node is placed. Okay. And it's gonna move backwards through the sign of Pisces because the lunar nodes move backwards. They're always retrograde. So this, if this was somebody's chart, the North Node would be in the first house, the South Node would be in the seventh house, okay, moving backwards. Now I'm going to show you my chart where you can see it's not an exact, it's not lined up with the houses whatsoever. So the North Node is in my seventh house, okay, and it's going to move backwards and move into my sixth house. So if I was watching this, I would want to watch for the sixth and seventh house because they both affect me. And same with like the first and 12th house with Virgo. But I'm going to explain, I'm going to get into that when I get into the houses. But I just wanted to show that to people. So if they have if their Pisces is riding two houses, that they know to look in those houses for the information.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Or the information will apply to them. Okay. So are we ready? Are we ready to tuck into this goodness?
Oh, I feel like it.
Okay. So the first house is the house of the physical self, but it's also the house of heart frequency. It's the gamma frequency. It's where we expand from the heart. So this is the courage to have compassion and love for the physical body. And this is where, for those people who have Pisces in the first house, you're going to be getting some kind of energetic upgrade in the physical to embody more of the soul's purpose and what have you. So I'm going to tether it into a little bit of traditional astrology, but I'm going to expand on it, okay? Pisces risings tend to struggle with trying to be attuned to their body's natural rhythm and at the same time trying to follow whatever science is out there about how to manage the body. And it creates a distortion and a disconnect with the physical vessel.
Mhm.
This nodal change will help dissolve any barrier to appreciating the body and utilizing the body's energy in that loving, compassionate way. There's an element of heart expansion here and the ability to forgive and receive love. Okay. And every single, let's say, like if we look at the natal chart like it's a pie, every single one of us in our attuning to this energy is providing and activating energy with everybody else. So I think you're the 10th house, I'm the seventh house. We're by tuning to this energy, we are carrying those codes of activation, those Pisces energies, and we are sharing them with everybody else. Okay. So even though I'm talking about stuff for people that are in the first house, it'll have a ripple effect and it affects us all in different ways. Okay. And
Mhm.
if you have any questions, Alisha, you can just let me know.
Yeah,
Uh,
first house is really about the self, the body,
yeah,
identity,
yeah, yes,
those themes.
yeah. So a lot more compassion and love for the self of how you see yourself. Okay. Experiences that give you the opportunity to love your body and yourself unconditionally and face any codependencies you might have. So again, if you're somebody, because I feel like some Pisces risings that I've worked with, they're on fad workout regimes or fad work, like they feel like they have to control their body, but their body is fluid and it's deeply emotional. It's never going to really like, so it's almost like having compassion for themselves in that and really tuning in to the rhythm of their bodies. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
With the seventh house Virgo, okay, the challenge is going to be the awareness, because this is where we go in opposition. I want to share with people the way that they're going to be empowered by this energy and the stuff that's going to come up for them to look at and be like, do I still want to subscribe to this narrative? And does it make me feel good anymore? So the seventh house is about relationships, one-on-one personal relationships. So if you're a Pisces first house, you're a Virgo seventh house. What's going to come into your awareness is the critical nature in the one-on-one relationships you have. Having the compassion to see where you maybe hold others or yourself to an impossible standard of perfection or have unrealistic expectations. Um, if there's more friction in the relationships than normal, take a look at where your thoughts are in regard to that relationship and that person, because it could just be showing you that there needs to be reconciliation and compassion to nurture healthier one-on-one relationships. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
when we're
That's,
looking, sorry,
yeah.
I'm just getting ahead of myself, but when we're looking at the first house, is
Yeah.
that going to be, how do people work that out? Is that going to be based on their rising, like Pisces rising?
Yes, their rising sign. So when they open up their chart, and I probably could have shown them, I probably could show you how to log into astro.com or how they can look up their own chart, but look up their own chart and find where Pisces is in your natal chart, and that's the house that the North Node's going to be transiting through. That's probably what I should have explained at the beginning, but I was too excited, and this is where we are. So, so yeah, so this is for people who have a Pisces rising because Pisces is in their first house. Okay. The next set of information is for people who have Pisces in their second house.
Mhm, mhm,
Okay. This is the house of the material and cellular structure. So when we see like atoms and materialization in the physical, this is the second house. Um, but it also has a lot to do with your relationship with money and where you feel you're valuable. So a Pisces second house will sometimes, I think, be a little bit neglectful or obtuse when it comes to their financial stuff. Okay.
mhm,
I don't think that matters anymore. I think if there's any guilt in that, it's going to come up. But so this nodal shift will bring about a change to their core value system and their relationship with money. It's going to shift because we're all shifting into a place of compassion, unconditional love, and expansion. And all the old rules that applied to whatever made somebody valuable, whatever made money, whatever it is, that's all shifting because love is the currency.
mhm, mhm,
Okay. You may have struggled with your relationship with money and how it came into your life. You will have an opportunity to embrace the energy of unconditional acceptance and your soul, as they will strengthen your ability to manifest and feel good about the material aspects of your life. So instead of focusing on money, they're going to focus on love and the connection to their soul.
mhm, mhm.
Okay. And with that, carry there's more. There's, there's many pages, my friend. Okay. The the more they embody their soul qualities and connection to source, the easier things will flow material wise. And here's the thing, if I'm saying things to you, Alisha, that appeal to you or resonate with you and it's not your house, it doesn't matter. You can take that and be like, oh yeah, that sounds good. Awesome.
Yeah. Because
Pisces, I
there
think,
will
yeah,
be, I guess we're covering all the houses, but we may experience all the themes because it's a
that's right. That's right. Because it's a free for all. Pisces is a free for all energy. It does not
very
restrict
big
anything
what
or
you
anyone. There's no rules here. This is the safe space where we just get to be, okay? And we get 18 months of this, which is beautiful. Okay. I'm not saying there aren't going to be other planetary stuff that affects it, but this is what we're rolling with right now. Don't worry about the details. Focus on feeling the feeling of knowing your value.
Mm,
That's going to be huge, okay? With an eighth house Virgo, the challenge will be to let yourself feel, grieve, and let go of what's no longer serving you. There may be a strong part of your persona that sees emotional vulnerability as a weakness and rejects the release. But that all that does is keep you kind of holding on to old energies and the beliefs that disrupt your ability to be in your natural flow. Um, this is an opportunity to nurture your vulnerability and not avoid the harder aspects of this shift. Okay. Now, this is an honorable mention. There may be an inability for you to receive from others. This transit will help you um, overcome any judgment you hold against that because the eighth house is about other people's money. So for
Mm,
some people, there
interesting.
may
Yeah.
be an expression of, well, I can't, like my friend Colleen and I had talked about sponsorship, about how there could be somebody that sponsors your business. And is there any resistance to that? Maybe it's something to look at because you're meant to do your soul's work. You can receive the means to do so in any possible way, right? Okay. Yep.
Oh, awesome.
Yes.
Loving
So
this.
third house and ninth house. Third house is the mental field. It's the house of the mind. It's how we communicate, integrate information, and how we process thoughts or how we come to conclusions with things. Okay. And with it being in Pisces, they need to prepare to have their mind expanded in a way that's going to make it hard to articulate. So what I find really fascinating, because you and I are both Mercury and Pisces people, and in moments where we have these like intuitive hits and they're right there and they're off again, and then we have to wait for them to come around, and then our mind goes from point A to Z and we think everybody knows how to get there, but they don't, okay? So third
Do you
house
know how many
Pisces.
times one of my close friends, like, I go, and he'll just look at me and he'll go, Alicia, you're gonna have to break that down. Can you forget that? Like, I'm not in your head right now. Oh, yeah, right. Okay, yeah. Let me get
Okay.
a diagram out.
Exactly. So this transit will bring an even deeper sense of vision and comprehension. See, yes, okay.
Yeah,
Um, you will need to take time to process without external influence and just allow the ideas and epiphanies to expand your mind, because that's the whole purpose of it, the whole purpose of that. Okay. You may also crave more fluid, loving, expansive conversation with others. And you may find yourself wanting to share the depths of your knowledge and what you're learning with other people. It may not always come out as desired, but uh, I think we're also probably going to see a big influx of even more so of like ADHD and ADD stuff, because that's the neurodivergent brain is like Mercury energy. Anyway, but it's needed. It's like angels denying human dimension, right? Because we're creating our own dimension. Anyway, so if you have your third house in Pisces, or your Pisces in your third house, you're going to have Virgo in your ninth house. The ninth house is about education, travel, expansion, learning. Okay. Very Sagittarius energy. The challenge for you will be for for you will be where you will try to rein in what you're learning and be rigid or structured in how you implement the process of what you learn. So every house I talk about, there's like an equal and opposite like reaction to it, where we have to really look at this. Okay, do we still want to operate this way, or do we want to go in a more fluid state? Okay.
hmm hmm
You may especially want to observe the thoughts that want to keep you where you are and fearful of the consequences if you don't get things right when it comes to knowledge. Intelligence is greater than intellect, and this transit will help you nurture a balanced relationship with your expansion and intuition. There's no wrong way to learn or expand.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I love that. I don't
Yeah.
know. Intuitively, for the third house placement, I just keep getting like writing books, writing novels, writing
Yeah.
story, like children. Like, I feel like there's a real creative element and aspect here
Yes.
for this transit to bring some of the concepts and express it through, even if it's sort of like in fiction, or I don't know,
Yes.
like that.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I just saw like a something zigzag down through your screen.
Well,
It
I
was like
hope it was good. Hope it was friendly. I'm sure it was. It's fine. Okay. So house four is house of the home and the emotional field.
Mhm.
So this may be very well be an emotional transit, but will ultimately provide a shift of the home and childhood foundations for people with this placement, or if it resonates. Perhaps, okay, so what came through was a shift with the inner child. Perhaps a greater focus on unconditional love and safety for that part of you that never had it. a desire to live in a more compassion and soul expanding environment. There may also be reconciliation of family drama and trauma in order to shed any codependency there. Um, it's letting yourself feel what you need and give yourself permission to create a loving, safe environment for yourself. You'll need a little more flexibility than what you're used to. So this is for these people, it's very much, and again, this can apply to anybody if you think about how you're feeling emotionally about things. There's reconciliation with the childhood stuff and just providing a more loving experience for yourself, period. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just giving you space to because I can feel
I'm percolating, but I'm also
the
bringing up
wheel. Yeah,
charts and
I feel the
scroll.
percolation. Okay. Okay, I'll let you percolate. If you have a 10th house Virgo, okay, the challenge for you will arise when it comes to your career and how you want to show up in the world. You may have an expectation of your path that may not be viable anymore. And this isn't a throw the baby out with the bathwater situation, but it will require you to be a little bit more flexible than what you're used to. Um, Pay attention to what you believe about success and if it actually makes you feel successful or not. Your perception of yourself, in the home, okay, from where you were raised, may have created the desire of how you think you were supposed to show up in the world. But now that that's shifting and there's a space of unconditional love for that part of you, how you serve the world might change. How you show up in the world because you don't have to create that for yourself anymore or for other. Maybe you create it for others, but there's something that's shifting in how you thought you were supposed to be successful in the world. It's changed. Yeah, I know. It's a lot of info. We're not even halfway through, girl. Listen.
Almost. Oh, getting there. No, I don't have any intuitive hits. I'm still percolating.
That Virgo 10th house is opposite for you. So, okay, fifth house, the house of creativity and presence field.
Mhm.
So be prepared to expand and explore your creative gifts through the power of the soul. The urge to be inspired or run with your inspirations will be hard to resist, and you shouldn't resist them. Rules be damned. That's what I feel. I feel like we should just call this nodal transmit rules be damned. Just go with the flow, go with love, whatever. I feel it's okay to get a little lost in your passion because it's helping you define your creative potential in the world. You may want to try new things and find you get fully immersed in the experience, so much so that the rest of the world kind of falls away. But that's just the sound of you tuning to your own soul.
Mhm.
So let yourself get lost a little bit. Um, what you take part in at this time is helping you anchor in a new foundation. And this is honorable mention. Okay. The fifth house holds the activations of fertility. So you may find yourself more fertile, connecting or working with children, or having a lot of fertility stuff because they may be, I mean, Pisces fifth house would be fertile anyways. Their energy is going to help activate fertility in other people. It just is what it is. But yes,
Yeah.
okay.
I don't know.
11th.
Yeah, just before you continue on, I
Yeah.
am gonna I got a real like almost it's gonna sound so funny, but like almost like a mad scientist, crazy scientist vibe, like someone who works from their shed or has a studio, sort of locks themselves away and gets really caught up in the imagination of the downloads and the inventions and the like
Yes.
really potent there's some really potent creative concepts that'll be worked with and percolated and actualized. It's actually like constructing something like I kind of get like a Tesla, Einstein kind of feel
Yes.
very electric,
Yep.
kind of out of the box, but really progressive in terms of creation and invention going on here in the fifth house, whoever that
Yes.
to. Yeah.
Yes. And what I love about this energy, because we're all going to feel it in different ways, it's going to take us out of our current reality, which means we're not going to get interrupted or interfered with. We're just going to feel so called that we just step into it and we live into it. And that's kind of what we need, I feel, on so many levels to just get swept away in the energy and into that
Mm.
experience. So I love that you described it that way. So for somebody with a fifth house Pisces, they're going to have an 11th house Virgo. The challenge for them will be based on the community and groups that they're a part of. So this is friendships also. You may need to shift or change the groups you belong to. If you notice you're becoming more critical or judgmental of the processes, practices, or the people, that's an indicator that they may not be your people. And
You've
there may be,
outgrown.
yes, they're outgrown exactly, because there may be people in those groups that perhaps aren't really supportive of the creative expansion that you're in.
Yeah.
It just is what it is. They have
And
their
yeah, it
thinking.
almost feels like work related too, or like you may still be in your work environment, but there's a real
Yes.
separateness to
Separation. Yeah, separateness.
what
Yeah.
you're percolating and creating. And then it's almost like having a bit of a double life for a while until you're ready to fully step out. And that might take some time, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's just not feeling the resonance or connection just because you're in more of an elevated state of awareness and really
Mhm.
focused. Oh,
Ah,
ding.
you're right. Okay. Okay. All right. Sixth house Pisces is the house of the daily anchoring and grounding. So this transit will offer the opportunity to anchor in some of the deeper spiritual practices you've been considering. You may find yourself tuning into the soul and spirit more and making your connection to source part of your daily routine. You may find it easier to detach from the real world. I quote real world, like whatever that is for people these days. I think it's different for everyone. But this will offer you a level of discernment needed to in the work you'll be doing with others. So I feel like that discernment's going to help people be okay with the fact that they're detaching. Like because of the work they're doing, they have to have whatever it is. There's something shifting in the work that they're going to be doing with the world. Okay. Um, where are we? You will definitely want to be prioritizing compassion and allow for the daily rhythms to be flexible. Some of you may need to incorporate grounding practices because you might feel much more grounded in the elevated state of your consciousness. Um, some of you may need to start or go deeper into the metaphysical anatomy and the energy of health and wellness in regard to energy and spiritual practice with that.
Mm.
Um, 12th house Virgo, right? If you're a sixth house Pisces, you're a 12th house Virgo. The challenge for you will be the need to structure your relationship with Source because it doesn't have a structure, but Virgo is going to try to give it a schedule. Um, and
It
perhaps the
doesn't run
need,
on any schedule.
no, no. Virgo is going to want to do it perfectly or for the need for it to be perfect or show up perfectly, that's going to be a struggle. There may also be an intensity around healing your flaws and subconscious wounding. Like you may feel you need to overanalyze interactions and things with yourself and others, trying to find what's wrong to fix it. But it may feel overwhelming at this time. You need to allow things to unfold so you can nurture a healthy relationship with the hidden aspects of your life. It's a tough placement to have. If I'm going to be honest with you, like a sixth house Pisces is fantastic, but a 12th house Virgo, that would be difficult, I feel. So I'm sending love to all those that got it. Okay. Seventh house. Okay. Seventh house, the house of partnership and the light field where we receive activations and our upgrades and all that stuff is from this energetic field. There'll be a desire and expression for more loving and compassionate relationships. And this house is the house of divine union.
Mm.
However you want to split it, if you're on a path of divine union, the seventh house you're gonna be affected by the seventh house, whether you're a seventh house Pisces or not. Okay. There's a capacity, there is the capacity to experience divine love at this time. You will feel more hopeful, and when it comes to romance, and the more intimate aspects of your relationships, your soul will call for a more deeper, more loving connection. Like it's just like I feel like for people who are awake to their own stuff, it's not going to necessarily apply, but for people who are starting to understand their own relationship patterns, they're going to recognize where they're settling for things when they really truly want depth.
Yeah.
See, I was right. Anyway, you may even find yourself forgiving and reconciling, and clearing out any old energy that hurt you before. You may also be more open to connecting with new people who have the same vibe as you. So it's not just the romantic relationships, even people that you're meant to connect with and collaborate with on a one-on-one basis is also here. Compassion for your current relationships and new relationships will have more compassion. So that's compassion for yourself, the role you play in them, being more open to actually entering divine union. Because I feel like there's a lot of underlying resistance to that still for all kinds of reasons. There's no judgment in that, but the fear of the actual physical manifestation and our inability to handle it is real because it's so intense and it's so visceral and it's so expanding,
I-
right?
It's such a big energy. And so, yeah,
Hmm.
I think for a lot of people, to be able to hold that much frequency in a connection in physicality is a big, like, it is a big job. It's not your typical relationships. It's not, um, being in close proximity holds just so much code and light and energy. We're
It
building
blasts,
to
it
it
blasts the crap out of everything.
completely, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so if you have a seventh house Pisces, you've got a first house Virgo. Welcome, my peeps, because this is me. The challenge for you will be around how you see yourself and your physical body and where you take up space in the world.
Mhm.
Anywhere you pick yourself apart and have a hard time loving and being loving and compassionate, um, will be glaringly obvious. It's going to be so obvious that you're going to have to do something about it. You're going to have to just love the crap out of yourself. Um, but don't fret because it's going to show you exactly where you need to change in order to nurture a healthy perception of yourself and your body.
Beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful.
All right, eighth house. We're getting that. We're getting through these, okay? We're getting through these. It's my restless nature. Like, I gotta move. The house of intimacy and death. Okay. It's the transmutational field. It's the transmutation. But I can't think of a better placement to have in the eighth house because there's a gentleness to Pisces that we all need in our purging and transmutation. Okay. So closure for you will have a more spiritual overtone and perhaps have a little more compassion involved. Transmutational energy and purging will be easier through your connection to source and the depth of the expansion there.
Mm.
So I don't know what that looks like, but it feels softer. It feels more accepting. It's like, when you're grieving something and somebody hugs you, it feels like that.
Mm.
You'll feel called to seek understanding and comprehension of spiritual invocation, and it may actually feel a little addictive. You'll expand a lot when it comes to fully embracing the shadow aspects and have a greater capacity to allow change through knowing the depth of it all. So you may be a safe space for others as they shed the old versions of themselves.
There's a real
It-
Kundalini energy rising through.
yeah.
I can feel as you're talking, I was just like tuning into the energies and also like soul seeking travel. Like I was just there were all this stuff coming through, like someone going on like a quest, spiritual retreat. traveling to, having a pilgrimage to, let's say,
We're
India
not
or
even in the
like,
ninth house yet. Okay. The ninth house is
oh,
next, Alicia.
oh,
Okay.
sorry, I'm jumping ahead.
You're so
Okay,
tuned in. I love it. No, you're so tuned in. That's exactly it. Okay.
all right, I'll let
I
you
just need to,
continue then.
no, no, no. I love it. I love it because it just lines everything up perfectly. But we're gonna do the second house in Virgo. Virgo second house first before we get there. But you're 100% spot on. Um, the challenge for the second house Virgo is around seeing your value and how you earn money. There are some things that may show up where you think I could never charge for that or feel like you can't receive based on a belief. This transit will help you by giving you opportunities to expand and nurture a healthy relationship with receiving and earning. You may be holding yourself back from receiving more and also um, an opportunity to maybe not quantify your value with under some like such restrictive terms.
Mhm, mhm.
Ninth house. I rushed through that so we could get to the ninth house. Okay. The
Well,
house of
can I just
expansion.
expand into that? Because it feels like really learning to succinct, like a higher consciousness way of receptivity in terms of financial
Yes.
or
Yes.
material gains, and like really learning the potency and the power of syncing with the energetics of it and moving beyond the mind
Yeah.
into like the field, the flow, the um is going to be a real game changer moving forward because it's operating at a whole different level.
Yeah. Where Virgo's energy might say you can't earn money doing that.
Mm.
Pisces energy is like, go for it. And then Virgo recalibrates and says, okay, here's a plan.
Yeah.
Here's how we can put that into action. Okay. Now the ninth house, my friend. Because it really is, it is the house of expansion and it's the electrical field. So prepare for soul expansion and retrieval. The soul's quest. Okay, hang on, it's coming. Um, I feel out of all the houses, this one offers the biggest upgrade and paradigm shift. I don't feel as much of the compassion as I do the desire to be on your divine path and immersing yourself in anything, a project, learning, experience, retreat. Okay. That will satisfy that in you. You will be given opportunities that will help you do that, but more importantly, you need to expand. The need to expand will be a priority. It may even feel all-consuming at times. Allow the necessary energies to drive you to the people and experiences you need.
So many flashes of like different sacred sites and pilgrimages, and like I
Yes.
feel like I'm going from like Cambodia to Mexico, and I'm in Spain, and it's just this roll of like different places that offer a spiritual evolution. It's not
Yes,
just about travel. It's not vacation
exactly.
based. This is
Yeah.
soul retrieving travel.
Sojourn, for sure. Yes. Okay. Now, if you have a ninth house Pisces, you got a third house Virgo. Your challenge correlates with the way with which you go about your expansion. So you may feel the need to find the perfect thing or person or what to be critical about in your approach, but try to release the need to do so. Try to let the energy, the momentum of the energy carry you versus having to have a perfect trip, a perfect plan. Okay. Um, Satisfy your need to be detailed, but just in a way that supports your desire to learn. Um, you can't mess this up, and you already retain so much more when you let go of doing it right. You'll nurture the ability to expand and integrate your journey and then share that with others to serve them in some way.
Beautiful. Yeah.
So that's a big, I feel like I feel like 7 to 12 house placements are gonna have the biggest impact on everybody, which kind of makes sense in a little bit in traditional astrology, but I found tapping into these energies, the people that had like those house placements, they're going to have the biggest growth, like outwardly. So 10th house Pisces, the house of public endeavors and the creative field. Okay. So prepare for an expansion of your career, especially if it involves spirituality and healing. And for those who it doesn't quite yet, I would expect some kind of shift into that. Okay. Whether maybe you're an occupational therapist and you start adding Reiki in, I don't know. It could be any kind of thing.
Tweaking, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. Activations, oh, sorry, healing, sorry, spirit healing and activations. Now you may end up working with energy and people in a way you never realized possible. You may have hope for humanity, and this will translate into what you do to help humanity. There's an element of exposure here too. So if you so you might become more well known or exposed to more people, but this correlates to your ability to express and show up in authenticity in the vibe of your soul and the connection to spirit. So you may, so some people might feel they need to show up in the standard way in which society expects us to show up. But if that's aligned with their soul, that's fine. But it's more of people having the courage to show up in their soul's authenticity, which I think you do. Like I don't have anything for you with that, but it was something that came in at the very end for some people who might be struggling with how to show up or maybe need permission to show up, even though it might look crazy to other people.
Not always the easiest thing to do, or at least
No,
starting out, but I
no.
highly encourage it.
No, exactly, because your energy in its authenticity is activating, and people will feel and sense that regardless of whatever opinion they might have. They're going to receive that activation, and it's going to have a ripple effect and connect you with more people. So if you have a 10th house Pisces, you got a 4th house Virgo. Environmental conflict, okay, we're going to talk a little bit about this, and or critical elements from childhood may be a challenge for you during this time. This feels more like irritants and annoyances that need to be addressed. So if there are certain things that are irritating you or annoying you, they correlate to something in your childhood that is not resolved yet. So if you can just remember that, like it doesn't feel like it's a big like knockdown, drag out tower moment. It just feels like these really weird, like irritants that's attached to some childhood stuff that needs resolving, which is really just the showing you the blind spots of reconciliation from the past. I don't know whatever that is. It doesn't seem big. It doesn't seem like oh, I have to move kind of a thing. It's just like, okay, I'm irritated by this. I'm gonna let it show me why I'm irritated, pretty much.
Mhm.
Does that
And
make
that
sense?
could coincide with like maybe being black sheep of the family or not
Hmm.
being fully accepted for who you are. And
Yeah.
it may be just working through those nuances and tweaking or, just fine tuning them out so that you can flip into that more authentic.
Yes.
Mm,
Yeah, because that energy that's calling for you to expand in your public endeavors is going to help you overcome the stigma of being the black sheep.
mm, mm.
It's going to let you show up in your full authenticity, black sheep or not, and you're going to live into that. So I think that's beautiful. Okay, we got two more, girl. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Two more. Okay. The 11th house is the house of groups. It's also the galactic field.
Mm,
So, this is what I started with. Is soul tribe a term that feels relevant? Because this will be highly appealing to you at this time. You may feel you want to work with others in a more expansive way, conscious conversations, spiritual retreats, group work. You'll find yourself more drawn to the things and people who register with your soul
mhm,
versus what maybe used to be appealing, um, or call to your soul. You may also feel more compelled to bring a more compassion into your friend groups and dissolve any barriers to fully expressing yourself and experiencing love in those greater capacities. There's a little tone here connecting with your galactic lineage for those who that resonates.
Cool.
Okay. Yeah. Exploration of your soul's origins and the role you play amongst others.
I
Yeah. Y'all gonna meet some aliens this year for sure. 18th,
think
yeah.
we all are.
Right? Um, so if you have an 11th house Pisces, you have a 5th house Virgo.
Mhm.
The challenge will be in how you perceive your presence in the world and perhaps where your creative flow is being stifled. I don't know why, but this placement in particular during this time, okay, it felt like it was more stressed when it comes to kids or having children or even the expectation that they need to be more mature or they need to do things in a certain way, like, um, or even show other people how to be. There isn't a lot of nurturing and allowance or acceptance here that may become obvious so you can do something about it. This transit will allow you to shed any structures that stress you out or keep you from feeling good about where you are. Fifth house Virgo creativity is probably more around organizational stuff and, organizing things than it is about actual physical art or what have you. But this was really strange because it could carry undertones of where people are stressed about not being able to conceive, okay? So whether they're a fifth house Virgo or not, there could be something with that. And the opposition to that is opening up to galactic connections, soul connections, and the cellular shift and everything that comes with that. If that makes sense.
I think that's relevant for a lot of people too. Different ways that children can come through and the evolution of the pregnancy experience that we're
Yeah,
Mhm.
big changes with that. Okay, last but not least, 12th house, the house of the unseen and the ethereal field. Okay. This transit is at home here, so it's going to illuminate the hidden and unseen for you even more so. It feels like there's less fear here than normal and will give an element of compassion for yourself and what you don't know yet. Pisces, oh, look at me moving energy. I should probably warn people I burp when I move energy. I'm moving some out. Anyway, Pisces 12th house people sometimes repress their deep soul callings and true nature out of fear of being seen poorly by others. They also have an unconscious or unaware fear of spirituality. So it almost represses one of their most natural attunements, okay, having that Pisces 12th house. I feel this transit will provide a safe space for you to embrace those aspects for yourself and live more freely in the energy of your soul. For some of you, you'll be experiencing an expansion of your intuition and connection to source, most definitely in a way you never thought possible or imagined experiencing. Just allow it and try not to judge it. So
Mm.
we're going to see a lot of people who are pushing the boundaries on their own intuition and letting go of the fear of getting lost in that or losing their way or lose something. There's something with that, even around people thinking they're like, imagine somebody thinking you're a witch because you know what? There's something tied to that I think is working out.
Healing the witch wound.
Healing the witch wound. Yeah. Being ostracized for your gifts. There's something that they're going to be transmuting with that. So if you have a 12th house Pisces, you got a 6th house Virgo, which is right at home because that's
Yeah, it's very,
Virgo's
I was about to
house.
say boom at home.
Yeah, yeah. The challenge for you will be around being overly critical of yourself and the changes you're about to go through. You may not be able to keep up with your normal routines and even become aware of where certain aspects of your routine are no longer working for you. Ah, okay. Be mindful of how you treat yourself if you don't meet your expectations. Your expectations of you could possibly stem from something that works for somebody else, but it no longer works for you. Listen to your intuition, and it will help you nurture a healthier relationship with your structures and routines in your life. Energy for a while has not been supportive of any kind of consistency. So for those who are a sixth house Virgo, there's this amplification of structure and routine and consistency, and the energies are just not conducive to that. So there needs to be a little bit more compassion and gentleness in
Mhm.
regard to that. Yeah.
Wow. Well,
That's it, my friend.
wow. Thank you so much. That huge amount of information, and I'm so grateful for you sharing the depth of your knowledge and wisdom and intuitive kind of blending all that together in a nice little package so people can have just be aware of some of the themes that may be present within their
Yeah.
experience
Yeah.
over the next 18 months and how to work with that the best they possibly can.
Yeah.
Um, but also, yeah, I do feel that sense of blend. If you've watched this entire video, like, thank you for being here because I know we're like charging through it like an hour and a half at this point. And I knew it was going to be a long video. I was
We
like,
did,
whoa, this
yeah.
is going to be like, um, but yeah, you may pick and feel into different aspects and elements of that. And how that's going to be, yeah, really supporting you drive forward in this expansion energy that we're moving through collectively.
Yeah. And I didn't talk too much about like the different planetary transits just because it's different for every house if depending on your sun and everything is. The one thing I will talk about though is it's going to meet up with Neptune that's still in Pisces right now, and Neptune in Pisces as it is a little bit Delulu energy. But I feel we need to be a little bit Delulu right now in order to push beyond what we've always known. So if you're feeling a little bit daydreamy, if you feel a little bit deluded, it's okay. Your soul's not gonna your soul's not gonna lead you astray, I promise. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely that element in the air. And I think that's a crucial part if you can really work with that in more grounded and practical ways, have that element because that's how we dream, that's how we create, like that's how we get to new heights and new spaces.
Exactly. And if
Um,
if belief systems really create our reality,
mhm,
then creating new belief systems out of hope and love and faith will create a new reality. The more people that lean into that, right? That's what I feel.
mm, yeah, for
But
sure.
yeah,
Oh, well, this has just been, is there anything else? This has been wonderful. I've thoroughly enjoyed this
me too.
conversation with you, and just everything that you've shared has been so validated in terms of like the intuitive senses that I've been sort of feeling into. So, can people connect with you if they want to dive a little bit more deeper
Of
into?
course, yeah. Yes, I actually have like a mini transit reading if they want to know how it's going to affect them personally. It's just on my website www.candywishman.com. You can if you want to add it to your description, you can. I don't
I'll
know.
put it all in the, yeah, I'll put all the
Yeah,
links.
yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed this and I loved the way that you interpreted it and could share a different aspect of it. And I really appreciate I loved being able to do this and being here with you on it. So
Wow, we'll have to do it again. We'll look at some
some
interesting.
cool stuff.
I know it's a big year or two astrologically because
Yeah.
everything's
Yes, because I think
moving.
Saturn is changing signs, Uranus, Neptune, everybody's changing signs this year.
Yeah, a lot of shifting of energy, but
Yeah.
yeah, really, really expansive. So make the most of it. All the details to connect with Candy will be in the description box below, and all the new offerings and services. If you want to do the 2025 align, that will be also in the description box below. And I don't work with astrology, but I get a lot of feedback that the energy that I pick up intuitively directly correlates with some, not.
Beautiful. Yeah.
So it kind of it works together beautifully in that way. And I always love to have I always secretly I always like another beautiful astrologer who couldn't be present. She does a chart for me every year just on the solar
The
my
solar
solar, yeah.
return.
And I
Yes.
always like that's a little gift for me every beginning of it because it's pretty
It's
on
fascinating.
mark and it always validates how I'm intuitively feeling about
Yes,
what's coming through. So,
that's
um,
beautiful.
yeah, so yeah, get your charts done, um, out of curiosity, have some fun, but yeah, be in this expansive, playful energy and make the most out of this year. I really feel like this year feels like a game changer in so many ways, and it also feels like a
Mhm.
experiencing totally something new and different. And I think
Mhm.
that's going to be a key theme of like, wow, I've never had that before. It feels very experiential, mystical, spiritual, but experiential all at the same time.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah,
So
like factoring in those dreamlike visions into reality in some way. Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
thank you
Thank
again,
you.
Kenny, for
Okay.
being here. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And much love until I connect with you next time. Bye bye.